he applied to teach, or he put in there like tradition.
He put what?
Or Dharma talks, like in the Buddhist tradition, or sound meditations. And both seem cool, but not something that I would have on a regular schedule. Like I'd be interested to have
recording in progress.
Sorry.
as a donation. No, you're good. As a donation base or something like that.
Right.
But what I've been saying to people is, and because I said, thanks for applying. And also, I would love for you to come try the studio. Because he's like, oh, it seems like the studio is a great fit. I was like, said you seemed like we were a great fit. I'd love for you to actually come try it and see if you think that.
Exactly.
After taking class.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, it was my wife who brought me to your attention. I'm not seeing anyone with the same last name. Not that they have to have the same last name, whatever.
Right.
And then I said again, well, once you've taken class, reach back out.
Yep.
And we can schedule an audition.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I don't really do physical asana. And so I'm going to bring it up with Lucas, but it's like, I don't think I want to bring you on the schedule then, no matter how cool you're offering.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. You ready for this guy?
Yeah.
Okay. And he filled out all the paperwork. You sent him it?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I just scheduled the interview. Sorry.
It's okay. I can
do it. I can get it going during this.
Okay. Perfect.
But yeah, it was an odd interaction.
It is weird.
Hey.
Hi, Scott. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Glad you can join us.
You can hear me okay?
Yep. Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. So, hi. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Yep.
So we just going to go through a couple of little things before we get started. The way that we work is, we ask 5 questions, basically. We ask you to introduce yourself. We ask you, when was the first time you tried yoga? What brought you back to your mat? When did you notice changes, or did others notice change? And then kind of like if you ever had like an aha moment, or like a moment where you felt like you were kind of in bliss in yoga, whether that's teaching or, sometimes that kind of will come up in conversation. Sometimes it won't, just kind of depends. And then we also ask, like, what can others learn from your story?
Okay.
We don't say lifetime because they don't pay our bills on this podcast. Right. They pay our bills other ways. So whenever you're referring to a yoga studio or a place that you work, unless you own it, just say a studio or a club. I think I usually say club.
Okay.
So have you had a chance to listen to the podcast?
Yes.
And what'd you think?
Fun. I liked it. I listened to Chris was the first one I listened to. It was kind of fun. I can really relate to the whole video game thing. I grew up in that generation, video games and all the Nintendo. And I just got done listening to Jorge's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The engineer, which is always interesting. So, and then what was the Neo Baby? Is that the one that was?
Oh, Nepo Baby. Yeah.
Nepo Baby, yeah. So,
yes. That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been fun.
Good. Okay, so we do curse. If you have a problem with that, we can try not to, but no promises.
No. I was maybe in restaurant business, so I'm
okay. Good. So you're very familiar with the words. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for us?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Cool.
So then Mia's gonna send you a disclosure form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's just like a basic, like, you're not going to sue us and we're not going to sue you. And we're just sharing your story.
All you'll need to do is put in your phone number and your email and then like type your signature. Nothing too crazy, but I shared it with you on Google.
Yep. You want me to do that now or?
You can. Yeah. Can't hurt.
And then we also would love it if you would send us a couple of pictures. And then if you have time in the next week or so, if you could record a meditation, a breath work, or a guided journaling kind of episode, we love that. Whenever we can get a teacher to do those kind of things, that's a lot of fun. And I love the fact that we met on a Zoom call and here we are on a Zoom call.
right?
And you're in, where are you?
Minneapolis.
Okay, perfect.
If it's cool, I'll just do it later because I have to like download the
That
Google
is
Docs.
Oh, yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah.
And it's probably easier on the computer as well.
Exactly.
So you're fine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
Okay.
It's a live document, so there's no rush.
Right. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Mia, do you want to kick us off?
Sure.
Perfect.
Hey, yogis. Welcome back to another episode of How Yoga Changed My Life. This is Mia.
And Adrienne.
And this week we have a new guest to the podcast, Scott.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. We are excited to dive into your story, hear about how yoga has impacted you. So, why don't we start with just a little bit about yourself? Who is Scott Herman?
I'm a 51-year-old stepdad, remarried now 3 years to an amazing woman. We got one cat, one dog, and one axolotl. I didn't know they were real.
Wait, what's an axolotl? What is that?
It's basically an underwater Pokemon. So they have like, they have a face and their gills kind of stick out of their
Stop.
side, and they're
Right,
I think they're related to the salamander family.
Wait,
but
I
they
got to look
can't-
this shit up. I've never heard of it.
Right.
What's it called?
Axolotl.
Axolotl?
Axolotl. They're pretty awesome. There's like 15 different colors. They live to be 10 to 15 years old. They're totally aquatic or amphibious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. You can't touch them, but their feet grow back, their limbs grow back, so they're
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're so cute.
right. They're pretty awesome. So it's fun to watch them. I remember we got one and then shipped to us through FedEx, which I didn't know was a thing, but that's pretty cool, I guess. The first one did not survive.
Oh, no.
They're very delicate, and our tank wasn't quite set up for it, I guess. But the second one has been thriving for 2.5 years, and his name is Mochi because my stepson loves mochi dough. So
Wait, so how long do they live for?
10 to 15 years.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and then it can grow up to I think like 12 to 14 inches, depending on the size of your tank.
I thought you were going to say
Wow.
12 to 14 feet. I was like, Scott, you're going to need a way bigger tank. Holy crap.
So
You're growing a dragon.
Exactly.
We're going to
That's what
dragon.
it looks like. It looks like How to Train a
Right.
Dragon.
yeah, it does. But I remember like one of the first times I woke up and like we had it for like 2 months, and when they sleep, they kind of like look like they're dead. So it was like 5 in the morning. I was getting up to go to the club, and I'm like, "Oh my god, he died again!" So I woke up my wife. I'm like, "Dude, Mochi's dead. We can't do this again. This is not cool." And she poked it, didn't move, just floated away. And she went up to the restroom, and I was like, ran upstairs. I'm like, "Dude, he's awake. He's awake. I don't know what you did, but you touched him and brought him back to life." So we finally realized that when they sleep, they just curl up and they just float. And I was just like, "Oh my god!" I was like nervous. I'm like, "I don't need another."
Wait.
Axolotl going down.
So where do they live?
They live in the like a fish tank.
But I mean,
So-
like in real life, like an
Oh, it's like,
outside. Yeah.
right.
They're indigenous to Mexico.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're endangered, but like science is like seeks them out because of their being able to grow their limbs and stuff like that. So, and they're not the brightest creatures in the world. Like you have to literally put the food on their nose for them to eat it.
Wow.
And if the sand is too big, they'll eat it for food. So, and then it gets stuck in their body. So you have to either have really big rocks or really fine sand. So,
Wow.
I'm
So
like,
they're
"Hey, they
extinct
can-"
for a reason. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
They're
Right, yeah.
endangered for a reason.
And
No.
Darwin.
Poor things. Poor things.
Wow. That
Like,
what?
if they can survive, there's hope for me.
Yeah, I mean, if they're sleeping, if they're first of all, I don't know of another like animal in the sea that sleeps that
Right.
floating like that. They'd just be scarfed up for food.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm just like, it makes no sense, but yeah, it's crazy.
hilarious.
So axolotls are a new adventure.
Nice.
Very cool.
I'm sorry I went off on that tangent, but I'm sorry.
No.
Hopefully somebody else
It's all
didn't know
good.
what the hell that was.
Right?
I'm not the only idiot on the planet that didn't know what an axolotl was.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was until like a year ago. So we're all good.
That's so funny.
So then, yeah, I was also in the Navy for 4 years.
Thank you for
served
your
over in-
service.
My pleasure. Yep, served in Sardinia, Italy, for about a year, and then I was injured in the line of duty. So I don't know. I don't
What
know if you had a chance
happened?
to look. I was working on a steam pipe. I was getting ready to go to bed. A friend of mine looked like he needed help, so I offered to help. We had to make sure a steam pipe was clear of any water or and he thinks the welders could fix it. So I climbed up about 3 feet in the air, leaning against the wall, and we were loosening this valve cap. And we expected a little bit of water because of condensation. He gave me a bucket like you'd use to wash your car. So the valve cape kind of came down and a little bit of hissing, just a little bit of water. And I was like, hey, everything's good. And all of a sudden, a bunch of water just came gushing out. So hot water filled the bucket. And then he went and got help. When he came back, I dropped the bucket and ran to the showers. But when I did that, all the water burned me from my waist to my knees.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I ended up spending 3 months in the hospital, lost 50 pounds,
Holy
had 8
shit.
skin graft surgeries. So, but yeah, I remember when it happened, it was like 11:30 at night, and they wanted to bring me to the medical ward, but on a stretcher. And I was like, I didn't want to wake anybody up. I didn't want them to drop me. I didn't want straps on my legs, and I just got burned. So I walked up. Depending on when I tell the story, it's like 3 decks, 6 decks, depending on who's listening. But it was at least 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I was younger, I exaggerated it, but now that I'm older and don't care anymore, I'm not trying to impress anybody. It's I walked up in a pair of loose fitting shorts, and I just walked up the deck, and we had to wait 45 minutes for the doctor to get there because we were on an island that's connected by islands. So there was a boat that went to pick him up and then came back, and then the next day, I'd never been burned that bad before. I mean, we've all been burned, and it's a couple of days later. So I saw all my friends. I'm like, oh, I'll see you in 2 weeks, and that was 30 years ago.
Wow.
So, had to learn how to walk again. I now joke and say it with my pre-COVID training. So I was in my own room for 3 months due to fear of infection.
Wow.
So, but yeah, my brightest point back then, it was 1993, was Saved by the Bell College Years was coming on.
Oh,
On
yes.
Monday night. And I was like, yes. I was out of bed in a wheelchair, went down to the vending machine, got some popcorn and a Pepsi, and I was ready.
That's awesome. That's so
and that
funny.
was back when they had the small TVs. If you remember those, they're like
3
inches. Like Sally Jesse Raphael and Maury Povich.
Yeah, Jerry Springer.
Yeah, Jerry Springer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you said a Pepsi and popcorn, because today in San Antonio we've had some like major rains and like storms, and this morning it was storming like crazy. And I got home at a little while ago, and I was like, man, it's sunny and pretty out now, kind of cloudy, but I was like, man, I really wish today was one of those days where I could just stay in bed with a bucket of popcorn and a Coke and watch movies. So it's kind of funny that you said the same thing. We had a sim moment today at some point.
Yeah. Nice.
So when did you? Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yes, I went to go year limited duty. My dad was in the military at the time, and I didn't know it, but he got me stationed with him in Kingsbury, Georgia. I think so he can keep an eye on me and make sure I was doing okay. And I would have maybe stayed in. You never know where life's going to go. But after I got hurt, I was just I don't feel like staying in anymore. And
yeah.
I knew I wanted a family, and I knew that's not a place to be if you want a family. So,
yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I still had a lot of fun. Met a lot of fun people. Traveled all over Europe. Good times. And now I get to go to the VA, and I've had nothing but success. And,
that's great.
25 years of therapy with them, and yeah, it's been pretty good.
Wow.
So, but yeah, other than that, just softball player for 30 years. I've been on the same team for like 25 years. So that's a great other community.
Yes.
And the roster's always changing. New people are coming and going. I've seen a couple players' kids when they were in diapers, and now they're graduating college. So I feel old because through them, the kids are getting old. This is not cool at all.
No, I just turned 50 in April. So you said you're 51, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm 50. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. So tell me a little bit about like how you first found yoga then.
I think my first bout with yoga, I was on a trip to Mexico, and me and my now ex-wife and her family went down there, and we were on the beach, and this lady was teaching it, and I attempted to do a seated twist. And by the time I got into it, they were like 4 poses ahead of me. And I looked at my former father-in-law, I'm like, this is ridiculous. This makes no sense. I'm out of here. So I just walked away. And then it was about 12 years later, I was teaching senior fitness, going around different apartment complexes, doing independent living, that kind of stuff. And they were all like, you should teach yoga or learn yoga and come back and teach us how it all is. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I joined a club, saw a flyer for yoga teacher training. I'm like, might as well sign up. I got nothing else to do, and I need credits for my personal training anyway. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and that would have been February of 2020. So like my first
Wow.
official yoga class was, right before the fun started. So
Right.
I remember sitting in what I thought was the back of the room so no one could see me. And then we were moving, and the instructor's like, okay, now, take a breath and move to the, shift to the front. I'm like, now everybody can see me. But I realized no one was looking at me. I was just looking at myself.
Yep.
And then after class, the other students got together, and it was just an amazing feeling to be somewhere that just like you felt that love and energy, and it was just genuine. Like I used to always think it was like yoga's for hippies and tree huggers, and I'm just like, maybe it is, but it's just so much more than that. That's like through the last 5 years, I just learned how much yoga is for everyone and is everywhere. So 2020 hit, and then I did about a month into yoga training, and then like it just exploded everywhere in my house. My yoga clothes, my meals, my books, like everything. What the heck just happened here? And it was like I didn't even notice it. It just like was like very like a fluid kind of thing. So, but I think that helped me get through the whole COVID crisis. I was able to do some breathing. I did, yoga. I did 108 hours of silence because of the 108 salutations. I'm like, let me just do 108 hours. I got nothing else to do. I'm home alone, playing video games. So, I didn't want to talk to my cat anymore. She was tired of it. So I just called a few people and said, hey, I'm doing 108 hours silence. Don't worry about me. I'll call you back when I'm done. So I did that. It's really tough to be silent when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people realize how you just want to start talking to anything or anybody, talking to the TV but it was definitely fun. That's where I started like combining boxing and yoga together. I would do like a 3-minute round of boxing and then like a sun A, and then 3 minutes of boxing like a sun B. And I would just keep my boxing gloves on, and it was pretty fun. So I would say that's how I really found yoga, was in 2020, just going to the yoga teacher training and,
Wow.
getting connected and finding everybody. So
You
it's been fun.
go ahead.
Let me
Mia.
ask you, you had that
Yep.
one class. Also, sounds like you're a hippie now. Hate to break it.
Yeah,
to you. I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
Sorry.
No, I'm messing.
Yeah.
But you had this one class. You had this really like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm out of here. And then
Yeah.
jumped into a training. What was it like to kind of go in with what sounds like one class worth of experience?
I knew there would be something new and different and weird. And like some people asked me to do it for them. So I was like, I'll do it for them because it's hard for me to do anything for myself. So I was like, okay, let me just give it a shot and, see if I can help. I love seniors and helping them. So I'm like, if I can help them, that would be great. So that's why I think I got drawn back into the yoga community. And I knew what I was doing wasn't working, being an alcoholic and depressed and hating the world was getting me nowhere. There was probably a reason I was alone at COVID. So if you're doing something and you keep doing it, then that makes no sense. So I quit drinking. It's been 8 years now, I believe.
Wow.
Congrats.
Thank
That's
you.
huge.
So,
Congratulations.
So I would say between sobriety and yoga, that's definitely kept me on the planet. Because I was not doing well, mentally and everything else. Just like alone, divorced, just gotten out of a toxic relationship. I was like, there's nowhere to go. So everybody's rock bottom is different, which is the toughest thing to see, because you just see people that are so amazing. Oh, I just wish I could help you, but you can't. You just gotta be there when they get up. And then the people that are there when you get up are your true friends. They're your true family. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was interesting when you said too, like, because of the fact that you were in COVID, that, yoga just started to kind of seep into everything you were doing. But I kind of had the same experience when I went through just kind of learning yoga for the first time and then starting to explore teacher training. Was like, yeah, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want to eat this burger after my yoga class. I want a salad, like, oh, I'm not going to yell at my kids for this. I'm just going to like talk to them about it. I'm going to be a little bit more clear in my communication to myself or to others. It just starts to kind of literally like bleed in or ooze in a way that like takes out all the other crap that was there. It kind of reminds me of like, I'm such a sucker for like the Instagram shop stuff,
Mhm.
and there was this like blue goo that you could get, and you could get it to go in your car. It was like a slime basically, and you put it in a container, and then you could use it in your car to like wipe off the vents or like the screens and everything, get all the dirt and dust that's like in all the crevices. And it's almost like that's kind of what yoga does. It takes all the bullshit away from you so that you can just be by yourself on your mat with your breath and your body.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, and it's, to me too, now I realize it's more than just being on the mat. It is
Yes.
how you treat everybody, how you live, where you walk, anything else. It's just, it's fascinating. I would just say, like yoga just threw up all over me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so a couple of my friends that have been around, long enough to see the changes, have noticed the changes. The ones that, I pushed away for too much, too long, they can't see the change.
Mhm.
But I also tell people like, don't let their fear of the change be your fear. Just because they don't think you can do it, you can still do it. And then their season's just over.
Yeah.
You get to move on, make a new roster, get a new season, fill in the gaps with something else. But it was amazing how my anger and frustrations have gone down. Like I used to just get angry at the littlest thing and frustrated. And I would always say it was my passion, but that was just code word for me not being a good person.
Mm.
So, but yeah, life lessons. So I think back, to the burns and the injuries and all the stuff I went through, all the struggles that we've all gone through. We all have a story, and it's all, your story is yours, mine is mine. It doesn't make anyone more important or any less important. And I
Exactly.
think that's the biggest thing we can learn from each other is like, just because you didn't get burned, I mean, you don't have a story,
Right.
Mm.
So, I feel fortunate I got all my limbs. There's a lot of people that are missing arms in the military and other stuff, or they didn't even come home. Like,
Yeah.
why am I here? It's like I'm here and went through all that stuff so I could be a better yoga instructor, be a better partner to my wife.
Yeah.
So I think if you survive your struggles and you get through them and then you can share them and not be afraid of what people are going to think,
Mhm.
then you can really start just helping the world. I have a quote, I don't know if I came up with it, but I'm like, if we just spent as much energy judging or enjoying each other as we did judging each other, how much different would the world be?
Absolutely. Well,
So
and it seems to me too, like what you said too, we all have gone through struggles. I had a conversation with one of my clients today about this because it was like, why do I have to go through so much? And I'm like, I wish I knew the answer to that question. I'm like, but what you're going through is hard in your way. And I can't compare it to what's hard in my way because my way is different. And we can stay in the same room, we can exist in the same space together, and we can share the same, breaths because we are human. And the humanness is what brings us together, is that we all are fighting suffering, right? We're all fighting suffering. And, finding ways to relieve ourselves of suffering is going to a yoga mat is a hell of a lot better than other options.
yep, exactly.
And
So
Scott, I
yeah,
hope it's I hope it's okay. I kind of make this observation. It
yeah.
seems like potentially some of that struggle was occurring just before and then going into COVID and going into this training. Tell us,
Mhm.
if it's comfortable, a
Yeah.
little bit more about that and kind of how yoga came into play with it.
About the struggles and then how yoga came
Yeah.
in. Okay.
Yeah.
So the biggest struggle I found before like yoga was going to friends' houses that have families and then coming home to an empty house.
Mm,
That I always wanted a family.
yeah.
And they're like, and I would just make up excuses not to go. I had no reason not to go. And I would be like, oh, I got this, I got that. And just like, I love being with them so much. But then when I left their house and then coming home, and those were some of the biggest struggles that I faced right before I found yoga. Before that, it was like right after my injuries, I would meet somebody new and I would say, I didn't know you yesterday. So if you died today, I don't care.
Oh.
And I'm like, probably not a good way to get friendships, right?
No, you're not winning over people with that line.
No,
Not a
no.
pickup
So
line, Scott. Scott, trash
no,
that line. It's not a pickup line for women.
right? So I'm like, man, that was not the best thing for me to be saying to people. But I was just so like tired of losing friends, but I was the one that was causing him to leave, and I didn't realize it.
Mm,
So those struggles led to even more loneliness, and then more drinking, and then more loneliness, and it's just that big cycle.
yeah.
So yeah, just seeing my friends and family, their families growing, and I didn't have one, and I always blamed my injuries. I spent, I don't know, 20 years as my injuries an excuse. I can't do it. I got hurt. Can't do it. It's no longer the excuse. And that's what I've kind of found in yoga, is just coming to peace with who I was, and knowing that doesn't make you a bad person. It just, you did some stuff that you probably shouldn't have done, and you learn from it. You grow from it, and now you can share. And it's amazing that when you teach a class, if you're truly authentic and vulnerable and you let them know what you've gone through,
Yes.
who will come up to you afterwards and say,
Yes.
"Oh, my son's been struggling with this too.
Yep.
How did you do that? Oh, my daughter's been doing this." And then, because people look at a yoga instructor and they think that they're perfect.
Yeah.
You know, they look at your twisted dancer or something like that. And I'm like, you know, I am far from perfect, and you need to know that my imperfection is going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know? So I hope that answered the question.
No, it totally
yeah,
did.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I'm curious, you know, because obviously it takes a moment of realization. You said
Yeah.
you didn't realize it at first that you're pushing people away or these relationships away. Do you remember that moment, or kind of like how you came to terms with it?
I think it's like, I think I knew I was pushing him away. And I think I was doing it so I wouldn't get close to people, so I wouldn't get hurt.
Protection.
And then, yep. So I think that's why I was doing it. And then when I started doing trainings for a different company, I would go to different areas of the country, and I'd meet new people. And I realized that I'm not dead at 30, so I need to change what I'm doing. I always thought I would die when I was 30, either by suicide or drinking or something like that, you know? So I did fail suicide twice, so I'm not very good at that. But I guess
Good. I'm glad you failed.
So I think the aha moment for that, like, is just finally just coming with age and realizing that, okay, I'm going to be around for a while. And even if I'm not, I need to make sure that I'm a good person again. And then if I don't push people away, maybe they'll stay. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So then I started doing that, and it started getting better. It was still a struggle, you know, and then if people did leave, I was like, see, I knew they'd leave anyway. And then there was that moment, like, I don't want to do that anymore, you know? So I would just, that was the biggest battle. But now that's one of the biggest things that me and my therapist have been working on, is my own internal dialogue. Like, I'm not good enough to have a friendship.
Right.
So I don't want you to get close to me.
Right.
I'm not good enough to be, you know, like, even on this podcast, I was like up late night. I'm like, why am I on this podcast? Why do they want to talk to me? Am I gonna just shit the bed and not say anything smart?
That's my favorite line, by the way, is shit the bed. Yeah, it's a great line.
Right. And I'm just like, oh man. So I was up worrying about it. I'm like, I can't worry about it. I can't change it. All I can do is get on here and, you know, talk, and hopefully it comes out well. And if it doesn't come out well, at least it's honest.
It does.
You know?
It comes
Absolutely.
out. You know, you said earlier too, like, you realize that yoga is for everybody, and like kind of the spark to get you going with your yoga career and your yoga journey was, you know, seniors, right? And working with the older population, which I think is so amazing. What are some of like the little nuggets that you've taken away after teaching kind of like our older generations yoga?
They've been through everything we're going to go through. So it's like, you can't ask them a question they don't know the answer to, you know? So they're like, and they're living history. So being able to hear stories when they were in World War II and not from a TV show, and even though it was the same story every day, they didn't know that. And I'm like, this is awesome. It's so great. So the biggest thing I learned, and the oldest person I taught was 104.
Wow.
And she was dancing up till the day she passed. It was like a Wednesday class, and then I found out Friday when I went back, she passed in her sleep. But I asked her what her secret was. She said whiskey, ice cream, and ignoring her husband. And dance. And okay, so can't do the whiskey. I do love ice cream.
Right.
You know? I think if I ignore my wife, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you are.
So, you know,
Yep.
And she's a therapist, so she'll know, and she'll want to know why my emotions are there.
Exactly.
So
yeah, you can't get away with that in your house now.
No, so it's like, if you're going through something, just talk to one of them. You know, it's like when my mom was sick and eventually passed, they've all had moms pass. They've all had moms that are sick, you know, so they were a great source to lean on. And I know some people are like, oh, you shouldn't lean on your students because you're there to teach them. I'm like, screw that. I'm leaning on them if they lean on me, you know?
Yeah.
That's what the community is. It's
like community.
Just because I'm teaching you doesn't mean I'm better than you. Absolutely. They could teach, you know? I'm like, you'd be better off teaching than me sometimes, you know? I guess that's the biggest nugget, is just we have that tendency. Every old person is just a kid moving slow,
Mm.
right? They want to do what we're doing, they just can't do it.
Hmm.
And for us to get mad at them for not doing it, it's just, to me, it's just like, and maybe it's because I've been teaching them for like 10 years now.
Mm.
It's just ridiculous. And I do it sometimes. I'm like, why do you still have a coin purse? You know? But and if you don't know what a coin purse is, you can Google it.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Right.
I know what that is. I don't have to Google it.
Same.
One of my seniors always is like GTS. I'm like, what's that? She's like, Google that shit. Like, fair enough, you know. So they're just a joy to be around. You know, they're happy, they're fun, and you know, it's just awesome to see them moving. You
Mhm.
know, so they're all athletes. They're all, you know, rocking it and moving and enjoying life. Well, most of them. Then it's amazing now how involved they are with the grandkids. Like when I
Mm.
was growing up, I barely saw my grandparents.
Mm.
You know, I would see them like once a week for the summer or something like that. But
Yeah.
now, like, the grandparents are there every day helping out, and
Mhm.
you know, which is awesome. And it could be part of it. Society is forcing us to do it, but I'm also like, this is pretty awesome because a lot of other cultures are generational. They have
Yeah.
grandparents, parents, and they're all helping each other.
Yeah, they
And
live in the same house. Yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
all thriving. So, you know, must be something to it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So, Scott, what can
yeah.
our listeners learn from your story?
I would say they could learn that everybody's got a story, everybody's got a struggle. Um, if you keep going, I do believe eventually you're going to get through it. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mhm.
You know, don't be afraid to admit mistakes. You know, when I teach a class, I sometimes I'll purposely make a mistake so they can see it. Oh, hey, we forgot to do the low side lunge on this side. Let's do it again on this side. You know, and I equate it to like people like getting to the club. You know, you took this freeway, I took that freeway. We all got to the end at the same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
So if you just keep on moving, keep on striving, you're gonna find your way no matter what.
I love how you said that too, because it's like you do it on purpose. I don't have to do it on purpose because I mess up like every single time I teach. And I've made the joke recently where I'm like, I really probably just need to get tattoos on my hand somewhere that says like right
Right.
and left different so that I can like actually like put right on my left hand, just an
Yep.
R and an L. Cause I'm like,
Yep.
I'm like, the things that I need to do is to
Mhm.
count, breathe,
Yep.
and tell them what side to go, right and left. And I can't do
Yep.
any of those. I'm terrible. I'm like, sorry, I'm just a mom that loves yoga like you guys. I'm not a guru.
Yeah. I do make plenty of mistakes in class too. Sometimes I do it on purpose. And sometimes it's like, oh man, did I really forget the whole left side? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
we'll come
go-to
back.
joke is some of you are listening and some of you know where we're going. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's great. So, where can people find you, Scott? Do you want people to find you or no?
I don't have any social media, so no Instagram, no nothing. I have a book that just came out in
Tell us about your
December.
book.
It is called Yoga Flow Through the Alphabet, A Journey of Healing and Self-Discovery.
Oh.
So 2 years ago, I was teaching a yoga class every Sunday, and I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to teach. So I decided to do the alphabet. That would give us 26 weeks. So each week was a different letter of the alphabet. So like letter A was acknowledge, accept, anxiety, and awareness. And then letter B, beautiful, brave, and then all the way through Z. And then every month I would take 4 letters, or the 4 letters, and write what I said in class and hand it to the students.
Oh.
And then they were putting it up on their refrigerators, and their kids were liking it. And I was like, maybe one day I'll write a book. We'll see what happens. And then last March, one of my yogi friends was like, when's that book coming out? I don't know. And she's like, you should have it ready for Christmas. I was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. So I sent it in to my dad, wrote a book. He had an editor. I sent it to her, and she's like, this would be a great pamphlet. I'm like, I don't want a pamphlet. I want a book. So I sat down, and I just wrote my life story. It's a book. It's 26 chapters. Each chapter is a letter of the alphabet. Each chapter is a story of my life. So talking about the burns, marathons, failed marathons, honoring my first wife, honoring my second wife,
Wow.
integrity. And then at the end of each chapter is blank pages for reflection. So it's almost like a journal as well. And then there's also a yoga pose at the end of each chapter. And I designed the yoga poses so if you want to use each one in sequence A through Z, it would be one long class.
Wow.
And it's not that many because you have forward fold and that kind of stuff. So it's not like it's 26 different poses.
Right.
It's 26 different movements.
Right.
And then yeah, so that's what the book is about. It's pretty fun. Working on my second book. Hopefully that's gonna be yoga for kids.
Oh, yes. Good. I'm glad to hear
So
that. I'm glad to hear that. I
yeah,
mean, my handle on social is Family Flow Yoga, because
yeah,
that's how I started, was really kind of understanding that yoga is not just beneficial for grown-ups, but for kids more than anything else.
yeah.
It looks like we lost Mia on the call. Oh, she said, I don't know what happened. Keep talking.
That's
Well,
the one thing too. I tell people is like for yoga, like I remember listening to Jorge. He's like, no, people can't. I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible. And I always tell people, not the flexibility in your body, it's the flexibility in your mind to be
mind.
okay where you're at.
Exactly. I say the same thing.
Yeah,
Yes. I say the
totally
same
right.
exact thing. And
Yeah,
it's so interesting to me that people, because I actually had a conversation with a woman the other day and she's like, well, I'm not flexible. And I go,
yeah,
well, I mean, if you think about it, do you have to squat 400 pounds to be able to do a squat? Right? Like, no,
right.
you just need to go out and squat. That's it. That's all you got to
Exactly.
do.
Yeah,
Well, you have to send us the link to your book where we
yeah,
can buy it and we'll put it on the show notes and make sure that
yeah,
we get it out there because that sounds like a beautiful book. I love the idea of the alphabet and I love the fact that
hmm
you kind of did this with what's interesting, Scott, is if you think about it, not just the book, but your yoga all came from someone telling you something that you should do that is great that you already have inside of you,
right.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. If you want, I can maybe read a little bit from the book if you had time.
I
I'm not
would
sure
love
what.
that. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I was at a book reading last weekend, so I already have some stuff knocked out. So,
Good.
so this is I can nobody else can see this, but I can just put up the screen so you can see the
Yay.
cover.
Oh, it's
So
beautiful. That's a
thank you.
beautiful book. I love that.
And then on the back is a tree because trees like us are always growing,
Yeah.
right? You never stop growing. So, um, we'll just read a little bit from the book. I'll read the dedication,
Okay.
and then sometimes I get choked up. So bear with me, people.
We will.
This book is dedicated to everyone who has ever felt alone and to choose who believe they've made mistakes beyond repair. Know that you are not alone. You are deeply loved and valued. Life is a journey of learning and growth. Each misstep is a step closer to understanding and becoming the person you're meant to be. This work is a testament of resilience and hope, a reminder that together we rise. So that's
Ugh,
the dedication.
I'm already crying. So
So and then if it's cool, I just read a little bit more, and then
yes.
if you want me to stop, just let me know. So in the introduction, to my new yoga, military, and civilian family, welcome. We may not be related by blood. However, if you're reading this, we're connected on this journey together. This means we're never truly alone. We're here to explore and understand life side by side. This book will bring you through the 26 letters of the English alphabet, each representing a unique theme. Even if you stop reading now, you'll carry something new within you, transforming who you were before you open these pages. So why not see where the journey takes you? In these pages, I'll share rare and honest experiences about how yoga entered my life when I needed it most and how yoga was in my life when I didn't realize it. I faced battles, both physical and emotional, that have tested my spirit, from my struggles with body image to recovering from injuries and the scars of military service. Yoga became a way for me to reconnect with my body, find peace in the chaos of my mind, and heal from the inside out. My journey has taught me that healing is never easy or linear, and there were moments of resistance when my own mind became the enemy, questioning my worth, my strength, my ability to move forward. You will come to find how in the hospital I faced addiction, pain, and my own self sabotaging thoughts. Yoga didn't arrive in my life as a quick fix. No, it was a slow, gradual process of listening to my body and truly feeling what it needed. Through yoga, I learned that healing starts with embracing where you are, not where you wish you were. Whether
Mm.
you've practiced yoga for years or have never stepped foot on a mat, I encourage you to approach this book with an open mind. Yoga is a deeply personal experience. No two people will feel the same during a class, and different instructors will inspire different emotions and insights. This is the beauty of yoga. It invites you to turn inward, to focus on how you feel rather than how you look or what others expect of you.
Mm.
And then when you meet someone today, like we're meeting today, remember they didn't see the struggles you faced years ago. They see you in this moment. People who witness your past may hold on to that image of you. Just as the seasons change, so do we. It's natural for them to feel uncomfortable with your growth. I encourage you not to let their fear hold you back from your own journey.
Mm.
So, and then I did read about my injury, but I kind of already talked about that.
That I just
So,
love the way that you write. It's very, very beautiful. It has
oh,
such
thank you.
like it's very like I can see the pictures in my mind, and
Mhm.
seeing the images, and really, like you mentioned it earlier too, like people come into your life at certain times, seasons, and all those things. What I found in the work that I did in myself, like learning about myself and healing my traumas, was to really kind of like look back and say, these traumas are things that I've been through, but they don't define who I am.
Right.
And then as I worked on all of my stuff, and I continue to work on all of my baggage, right?
Mhm.
I noticed that as we vibrate higher, oftentimes other people don't stay on the same frequencies and
Yep.
they will drop off because they are not working on themselves or they are not up to the level of vibration that you're working at. And it's
Yep.
not to say that you're better than them, it's just to say you're not at the same spot.
Exactly. Yeah. I do know without a doubt that if I didn't have yoga, I wouldn't be married to my wife right now. Because
Wow.
she's a mental therapist. So she's very mindful of emotions and everything else. And with yoga, it's being able to just stay calm more
Mhm.
often and the beginning of a relationship can be very helpful. There
Yes.
was one point we had a great salsa dancing day and a great weekend. And then Sunday morning, I was getting ready to teach class and I couldn't get a hold of her. Phone was down, said you can no longer contact this person. I thought, oh, she's ghosted me. I'm done.
Right.
And 5 years ago, I would have just went on a rant about how I'm the best thing that could happen to you, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, I'm going to teach the class and then see what happens. So
Mhm.
she called like 4 or 5 times during class. Luckily, I was on airplane
Yeah,
mode.
yeah,
And she's
right.
like, there was a national wide outage with her cell phone. So they
Mm.
for some reason the billing didn't go through. And I'm like, if
Wow.
I wouldn't have had yoga back then or now, I would have never had that.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and then yoga is also why she thought I was homeless. When I met her, I had yoga pants on and a jacket that with cut up so I could fit my bracelets in it and stuff like that. She was like, "What is going on here?" So, but that story's in the book. It's kind of
That's
fun.
awesome.
So,
That's
but yeah,
awesome. Well, definitely send us the link to the book.
okay,
And we will definitely share it with all of our listeners. We really appreciate you being vulnerable, that you taking the time out of your night to meet with us again, meet me again over Zoom.
right,
And,
yeah,
maybe when you're in San Antonio or I'm in Minneapolis, I'll come up and visit because like we
yeah,
say to all of our guests, like you're a friend for life, right? Yoga ties
right,
us together. So no matter what, we can meet up and do yoga together. So you always have a
yeah.
friends in San Antonio.
Love it.
Great. Thanks,
Cool.
Scott, so much for your
Okay, thank
time.
you.
All
My
right.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Yep.